upgraded in any way.
Odyssey was holding her right shoulder.
The Indiana Fever finally secured a playoff win that fans have been waiting years for. But leave it to the WNBA to twist what should have been pure joy into yet another fiasco. Instead of the headlines being about Lexie Hull's game-winning steal or Kelsey, Mitchell, and Aliyah Boston's heroics, the story turned into, believe it or not, a confrontation between Sophie Cunningham and a league-hired security guard. Sophie, rocking a bulky leg brace and standing nowhere near game ready, wasn't running onto the court or instigating trouble. The security guard decided to play sheriff and bark at Sophie as if she'd just rushed the floor mid-brawl. In this video, we'll break down this incident and reveal what Sophie said that's turned heads. But first, do you think Sophie is being singled out? Let us know down in the comments below.
Oh, Sophie, you're like that? Yeah, Chloe, she's like that. She's like that. She ain't moving. Oh, and then she puts her hands on the hip. Let me talk to your manager. Oh, shit. All right, Sophie, say no more. Say no more. Now, when your teammate gets injured, you're allowed to hop on the court and just to see if your teammate's doing good. So, injured, healthy. So, Chloe, Sophie, they had every right to be on the court over here.
Here's the question everyone's now asking. Was this just a clueless overreaction from one overzealous rent-a-cop? Or was it part of the larger, more troubling pattern that we've already seen in the WNBA, targeting certain players who don't fit their preferred narrative? When you look at the history, it's hard not to think Sophie was singled out deliberately, and her reaction, calm but defiant, showed she wasn't about to be intimidated by some glorified hall monitor. The setting should have been nothing but celebratory. The Fever, despite missing Caitlin Clark in half their rotation, including Ari McDonald, Sydney Carlson, Chloe BBY, Dyrus Dantas, and Sophie herself, had managed to pull off a dramatic playoff win. Fans are on their feet. The team was hyped, and everyone should have been basking in that postseason energy. But instead, we got the surreal image of Sophie in her brace, standing in midcourt, only to be approached aggressively by league security. No scuffle, no violation, no reason for confrontation. Yet suddenly, she was treated like some kind of threat.
Why in the F is that security guard all up on Sophie Cunningham? And look, I think there is a reason she got up in Sophie's face. And I don't think there was any need to sort of bow up to Sophie like that. I don't think, and to Sophie's credit, she did not back down at all.
Sophie Cunningham, clearly injured, unable to sprint if she wanted to, being leaned on by a security guard who looked determined to escalate what should have been nothing. The camera caught it perfectly. Sophie's expression moving from puzzled to annoyed to the unmistakable Cunningham glare that fans know all too well. That's the look of someone saying, "Really? This is what you're doing right now." And frankly, she had every right to give it. The moment hit social media almost instantly. Within minutes, clips of Sophie's stare down were everywhere. And the reaction, pure outrage. Not because Sophie overreacted, but because fans could see with their own eyes how unnecessary the whole thing was. It wasn't enforcement, it was harassment. And it plays directly into the frustrating narrative that has followed Sophie throughout her career. She's always painted as the villain.
So Odyssey Sims goes down hard, and Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark, Chloe Bibby are waiting for her at half court. And the cop tries to get Sophie Cunningham to move. Sophie Cunningham was like, "You're not gonna get me to move. I'm waiting for Odyssey." And you can see during the review, look at Sophie Cunningham clapping, not moving, waiting for her teammate. That's the Fever for you.
Why? Because Sophie doesn't toe the WNBA's party line. She's outspoken. She challenges narratives. She's confident, unapologetic, and refuses to shrink back just because people want her to. And for that, she's been treated differently by rival fans, by media outlets, and now apparently by the league's own staff. This is the same Sophie Cunningham who trends regularly on Twitter, whose clips rack up clicks, and whose fan base is one of the loudest in women's basketball. She's good for business, but instead of embracing her, the WNBA seems intent on turning her into a problem. Comments poured in across Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Some said flat out, Sophie gets treated this way because she doesn't match the league's preferred image. Others highlighted the racial and cultural double standards at play. If Angel Reed or Paige Beckers had been in Sophie's spot, the narrative would have been flipped. Look at their passion, their leadership. But Sophie Cunningham in a leg brace, suddenly she's the problem. Fans weren't buying it, and they let the league know it. Hashtags like Free Sophie and WNBA exposed trended within hours. I get folks.
I didn't realize how much fun I would have watching these people break down. It's a meltdown. It's a meltdown on Twitter today. It's embarrassing to a certain extent. Not for me, for them. And then we got the Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever getting booed as you're getting off the court.
And here's the kicker. Sophie didn't even escalate. She stood her ground. She didn't back down, but she didn't explode either. She just held her space, glared, and refused to be bullied. In other words, she showed more professionalism than the very security guard who provoked the confrontation. And that's why the clip went viral. It wasn't drama she caused. It was drama the league created. Now, let's connect some dots. We've seen similar incidents before. Remember when refs felt uncomfortable with Dane Carrington and suddenly security had to step in? The league rushed to defend Carrington. The Players Association rallied around her, and everyone framed it as unfair treatment. So why the radio silence when the exact same thing happened to Sophie? Why is it only fans calling out the double standard while the league leadership stays silent?
Check this out right here. Yeah, you see this guy right here? Right in this Gentero area? Let me just, you see this guy? The ref asked this dude to step out here. All right? Now, Cheryl Swoops wants this referee fired. She wants him fired. Look, he felt something. He felt something was amiss. Of course, Cheryl Swoops is defending Dejanay Carrington.
Isn't just about one overzealous cop. It's about the WNBA's ongoing problem with players who don't fit the mold. Caitlin Clark has been living this reality since her rookie year, getting hacked, shoved, taunted, and targeted on the court while refs swallow their whistles and the league shrugs it off. Sophie, meanwhile, has been cast as the villain for years. Combine those two storylines, and you start to see a disturbing trend. The WNBA doesn't know how to handle stars who don't fit their preferred narrative. Instead of embracing them, they marginalize them. And the irony, both Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham are exactly the kind of players the league should be celebrating. They're marketable, they're popular, and they drive engagement. Sophie, even when injured, gets fans talking. Clark, she's the biggest draw in women's basketball history. Yet, instead of protecting them, the WNBA lets referees and staff mistreat them. And when fans see it, they get frustrated not just with the moment, but with the league as a whole.
They hate Sophie Cunningham because she's white, she's beautiful, all these things, right? Let's keep it real. Let's keep it 100, as they say. Sophie Cunningham's the most beautiful woman in this league. All right, she's the hottest woman in this league, and they're mad they can't be her.
Within hours, fans were flooding comment sections, ripping the WNBA for embarrassing Sophie during what should have been a joyful celebration. People pointed out how the league had once tried to investigate fans for booing Angel Reed, or how they brushed aside flagrant fouls against Caitlin Clark as just part of the game. The same pattern is playing out here. Selective enforcement, selective outrage, selective protection. And every time it happens, the league's credibility takes another hit. And let's be clear, this isn't just bad optics, it's bad business. The WNBA keeps saying they want growth, respect, and mainstream relevance. But you can't achieve any of that when your biggest moments are overshadowed by viral clips of your players being harassed by your own staff. They don't want to see their favorite stars silenced or sidelined. What they want is basketball play, celebrated and respected.
I completely underestimated the feelings that I would have watching all of the Indiana Fever haters crash out. All of the Caitlin Clark haters, all of the Sophie Cunningham haters, anything to do with the Indiana Fever, the people that are just so quick to hop on Twitter and say something negative, to hop on media and say something negative, to take credit away. I underestimated how good it feels watching these people crumble.
And here's where the story really snowballs. Because the more fans talked about Sophie's confrontation, the more they started digging. They began piecing together the bigger picture. The repeated double standards, the repeated mistreatment, the repeated failures to protect players like Clark and Sophie. And suddenly, this wasn't just a viral clip. It became a case study in everything wrong with the WNBA's leadership, officiating, and priorities. Here's where things take a sharp turn from frustrating to flat-out revealing. Because Sophie Cunningham isn't just another player in sweats on the sideline. She's outspoken, fiery, and refuses to conform to the WNBA's carefully curated narratives. She doesn't bow to league-approved storylines, doesn't soften her edges for media comfort, and certainly doesn't play the role of the smiling mascot that they prefer. She's not Paige Beckers, WNBA's chosen replacement for Caitlin Clark. She's not Angel Reed, the league's chosen controversy machine. Sophie is something they can't quite box in, and for that, she's been a target for years.
Poor Sophie. She got the contraption on. She looks great in a ball cap. Let's just keep it real. We're keeping it 100 here, as the kids say. And here we go. Right here, she's at mid-court, and then Paula Blart, mall cop. What are you doing? Well, I mean, what you doing? She got a leg brace on, for crying out loud. You come out here trying to be Brody and trying to do something, knowing damn good well. Look at this police officer sauntering.
Here's the irony. That very defiance, the unwillingness to play nice with the league's preferred image, has made her popular. People love her because she's real. She's unfiltered. She's willing to say the thing everyone else is too scared to say. That's precisely the kind of energy a league desperate for mainstream relevance should be celebrating. But instead of embracing her as a draw, the WNBA seems determined to minimize her impact. Look at the marketing. How many times have you seen Sophie front and center in WNBA promos? Barely any. Yet, her name trends constantly. Her highlights rack up clicks, and her interviews get replayed more than players the league pushes twice as hard. When controversies flare, notice the difference. If Sophie gets in a dust-up, she's branded the villain. But if Angel Reed does the same thing, suddenly it's called passion and swagger. Fans see it, and they're not stupid. The favoritism is obvious. And when a leg break raced Sophie got shouted at by a cop for daring to care about her teammates, that hypocrisy reached a new low. There was no logical answer except the uncomfortable one fans are already whispering. Sophie Cunningham is being singled out.
It was one of those games. It was such a good W game. Like it was physical. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of great plays. But I just knew deep down in my gut that we were gonna win. Like somehow we were gonna win. And like I think there was like a minute or like 40. I don't even know. Like around 40 seconds left, and they left our all-star player wide open under the hoop for the go-ahead layup. And then Lexie Hull had a freaking badass steal, and like it was over. But
and that's where the damage stretches beyond Sophie herself, because casual fans, many of them pulled in by Caitlin Clark's star power, are watching too. These are the newcomers who dipped their toes into WNBA basketball for the first time this season, only to see nonsense like this play out. They weren't talking about Lexie Hull's heroic steal. They weren't talking about the Fever's grit. They were talking about Sophie versus the Malcop. When outsiders see a league more focused on drama than basketball, they don't walk away impressed. They walk away convinced the WNBA is unserious, and that perception is lethal. Fans unleashed their fury online, and it wasn't polite. Comment sections were filled with blistering attacks on Commissioner Kathy Angelberg, blasting her for presiding over what they called the most embarrassing league in professional sports. Some went further, calling for her resignation, accusing her of turning the WNBA into a circus act. When fans care more about your controversies than your competition, that's not growth. That's collapse.
The league is so mad that we won because we're literally not supposed to be here at all. And that just like kind of fuels our fire even more. But it was just like so fun. It was one of those games that, first of all, I was sweating my ass off because I was so nervous and like, I don't really get anxious about stuff. I was so anxious. Like I could not sit still. I was legit, I felt like I played with how much I was sweating. And
Sophie herself handled the mess better than anyone else could have. She didn't blow up, didn't feed the drama, and didn't hand the league ammunition. She stood firm, didn't retreat, and let her body language say it all. You won't intimidate me, and the fans noticed. They flooded her social media with support, turning her into the hero of the night. Once again, Sophie proved that when the league tries to diminish her, it only strengthens her base. And then came her actual response.
And I think we all know that if there's one thing that male sports fans want to see in their spaces and on their screens, it's more of me.
In classic Cunningham fashion, she brushed it off with humor. No angry press conference, no bitter rant, just a subtle jab that reminded everyone she's in control of her own narrative. That's the kicker here. The league thinks targeting Sophie weakens her. But every time they try, her popularity only grows. Fans love an underdog who refuses to be silenced. And Sophie embodies that perfectly. Sure.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals.
Driving to the foul line in the paint, lays it in. Sims crossover left to right, gets into the paint, layup, good.
Inside, Boston.
Of course, this isn't a standalone issue. The WNBA has a disturbing track record of failing to protect and promote the very players who drive its success. Look at Caitlin Clark. For 2 seasons, she's taken harder fouls than anyone else, constantly hacked and shoved with minimal whistles. The refs let it slide, the league shrugs it off, and fans are left furious at the lack of protection. Or take Lexie Hull. Her playoff heroics barely got a passing mention, even as fans hailed her as clutch. And now Sophie gets humiliated by league security in the middle of a celebration. It's not coincidence, it's a pattern. The WNBA wants to sell a narrative of collective growth. Everyone's contributing. The league is rising together. But the truth is uglier. Leadership picks favorites and pushes others to the margins. That kind of selective promotion isn't just unfair, it's catastrophic. You can't demand loyalty from fans while mistreating their favorites. Eventually, people stop showing up. And when that happens, no TV contract or sponsorship deal will patch the hole. That's why the Fever's playoff run should have been a moment of triumph. Even without Caitlin Clark, even with half the roster banged up, they managed to win. That was the headline. Instead, it got overshadowed by a rent cop barking at Sophie Cunningham. The league could have highlighted Lexie Hull's defensive brilliance, Aliyah Boston's steady dominance, Kelsey Mitchell's leadership, or the resilience of a shorthanded roster. Instead, fans are mocking the WNBA over mob antics. That's not just embarrassing, it's malpractice.